Fairbnb, as its name suggests, is a more ethical and sustainable home sharing service competing with Airbnb, or at least that's how the company describes itself. This company is full of particularities, starting with the reason for its creation and the innovative way they are planning to work. Let's use this video to explain that. There are probably going to be some sensitive topics issued here, so please be sure to watch the full video before commenting. If we want to understand how Fairbnb works, we first need to understand how Airbnb works. Airbnb is a platform that connects travelers looking for lodging with local residents who can rent out a bedroom of their flat or an entire apartment they own without being registered as a hotel. It is essentially the Uber of the hotel industry. But in the past few years, Airbnb has become a huge problem for some European cities, as some organized groups of locals are protesting against the gentrification taking place there. In theory, gentrification is described as the gradual change of the character of a neighborhood due to the influence of more affluent residents and businesses. And what does Airbnb have to do with all of this? Well, in cities like Venice or Barcelona, some landlords are raising the rent fees to locals, forcing them to leave. They're also decreasing long-term renting options in the area for locals, thereby changing the face of the city and the people who stay there. And why? Because Airbnb seems to be a more profitable activity than traditional house renting services. We can see evidence of this in Barcelona using this chart. In 2008, the year Airbnb was created, the average price for renting a flat was $906. Then in 2013, due to the global real estate crisis, that rate decreased to $759. But since then, the growth and speculation of prices have not stopped, now reaching an average of $1,052. That's an increase of 38%. Insane. And the same is true for most tourist-heavy European cities. Gentrification is not only affecting accommodation services for locals, but the commercial activities that used to support the local economy have now been replaced by international franchises and facilities for tourists. The same problem with people and houses is happening with businesses and their locals. Also, locals complain about the unpleasant behavior of some visitors. You know what I mean, loud parties, congested parking lots, drunk strangers wandering around the area, some even being malicious. Gentrification means the loss of identity of a particular location, and it seems that Airbnb is generating that. But we can't blame Airbnb for all of it. The lack of adequate regulations, the fact that now it's easier and cheaper to travel than before because of the low-cost airlines, the digitalization of the economy and the consumerism habits of young generations have been boosting the tourism industry over the past few years. In the year 2000, Europe had 391 million visitors. Now, the number is 713 million. That's 82% more. And that is the main reason why a group of people decided to create Fairbnb in 2016, an Italian startup with the idea to develop a home-sharing platform similar to Airbnb, but with a more ethical, sustainable, and community-centered approach that allows more local residents and organizations to take a big part of the revenue that tourists bring in. Fairbnb works under the one host, one home policy, different from Airbnb, where a single host can rent multiple houses. Also, in every Fairbnb, the host must live in the same area where they rent. According to their crowdfunding pitch, the business model of Fairbnb is based on independence because the owners of the platform are the same users who share the same values. There are no faceless external capital investors. They also talk about the co-governance model in which the decisions are made according to collective agreements. For that reason, there is a local node in every city that Fairbnb works in. These nodes are the center of the organization and the connection between the platform and the people involved in the social interactions. For that reason, Fairbnb started to label itself as a cooperative, placing that suffix in their name. As opposed to Airbnb, they share the data with the local government so cities can better analyze the real impact of tourism in the town. At the same time, they make sure they are compliant to the local regulations and taxing policies of the cities they work in, something that doesn't always happen with Airbnb. One of the most particular features of this movement is how they foster local economies and the way they do it. Here, half of the fee that Fairbnb gets for every service goes to a different local development project chosen by the visitors, from the remodeling of the children's playground to the funding of a new refugee center for the city. So what would a Fairbnb bill look like? Simple. If a host sets the rent price of its house at $100, for example, the guest will pay $130. The first $100 goes to the landlord, then the rest goes to the platform. But half of that share goes to a social project in the area. As you can see, in this case, the traveler is the one who pays the commission, not the host. This feature creates more jobs for the city and ensures that most of the money generated from the tourists stays in the place where they visited. That's very different from Airbnb, where all the money ends up in Silicon Valley, except for the host's share, of course. From the website, you can join the beta version. I checked it out and I find the user experience quite similar to that of Airbnb, in which you can do a search with filters and all that stuff. Also, I signed up to the website and the confirmation email gave me access to a social network of the platform. There I confirmed the considerable dimensions of the project due to the participation and diversity of the users. As you can see, some members are from places beyond Fairbnb has planned to work soon. The website itself was a dashboard where you can join groups of people planning to create a local node on areas where they live. More info and articles about the platform, the upcoming events organized by the company, and more. The creators of this platform have been funding all this via collaborations and crowdfunding campaigns. One of the most significant one was a campaign in Gotio where they raised $8,627. So a couple of disclaimers. I really love to travel and I don't have anything against Airbnb. The few times I've traveled, I've used Airbnb and the experience was great. You can see some pictures of me in Munich, Berlin, and Prague when I did a trip there after my internship in the Czech Republic 2 years ago. But we must agree that this industry has lots of room for improvement. Second, I understand the political background that some people can take from this movement. To be honest, the reason I made this video is to show that it is possible to create an even more inclusive market. I just think this idea is worth being told. I don't have any intention of getting into politics with this channel. Remember to thumbs up this video, share your thoughts in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. That's all for now. Stay fresh.